and welcome everyone to this special episode of Medici webinar series. As you know, Medici, for the last 7 years, we have tried bringing you insights around financial technology and financial services from all over the world in the form of articles, research, white papers, webinars and video series like this, as well as the FinTech platform where we track about 14,000 FinTech startups, and also the other work that we do for banks and FIs. But today's webinar is really special because this is the first in the series of country deep dives that we'll be doing. And this is Shubhrendu's idea. Shubhrendu is my co-host here. In fact, he has been doing a lot of work in the Indonesian markets in the past as a part of his roles that he played at MasterCard and other organizations. He has worked extensively in the Southeast Asia region, and he's a senior advisor at Medici. I think a couple of things, just from a logistics perspective, I wanted to share that one, this webinar is being live casted to Medici Twitter handle as well as LinkedIn Live and as well as YouTube Live. So people will be seeing it all over the world, if the time zone allows live, but then these videos will also be available offline on Twitter, YouTube, and LinkedIn later on as well. So we expect a lot of people to see this in the financial services and FinTech community globally. I also wanted to share that, this country deep dives are very, very important because a lot of times between UK and US and India and Singapore, which get a lot of limelight in terms of FinTech, we often don't get a chance to discuss and go deep into countries like Indonesia, which are very large markets, and we will hear it about everything about it today, that what is the opportunity, what is the potential in these markets. So with that, I would rather give over the mic to Shubhrendu, who is much more knowledgeable on this topic and would take us through all the Q&A that will happen today on this.
Thank you, Amit. And before I turn to our panelists and our esteemed guest speakers, I would like to wish all of you in advance a very happy 75th Indonesian Day for Independence, Dirgahayu Indonesia. And just to show the importance of Indonesia, you have to understand that it is the 4th largest populous country on this globe. If you look at Southeast Asia, more than 45% of the population is in Indonesia. And if you look at parameters like the smartphone penetration approaching 60%, if you look at how 2 out of 3 internet connections are happening from the mobile, if you look at a middle class of 50 million and more, if you look at a micro and small medium enterprises, also 50 million or more, you can start realizing what great power the financial services and the technology behind financial services can do for the inclusion agenda. So we have seen big improvements in Indonesia in retail banking, in wholesale banking, in mobile services and the retail formats. And we have 3 very eminent personalities with us today. We have Vishal Tulsian, who is the President Director CEO of PT Bank Amar, who has also pioneered credit and alternative scoring for credit. He is now looking at adding more intelligence to banking. So he'll be talking about their ventures at PT Amar and what kind of feedback they're getting. We also have Dony. Dony Yuliardi has had the experience of working on mobile commerce and mobile payments projects at more than one telecom operators in Indonesia. He worked at Telkomsel, he worked later at a payment gateway, a prominent gateway called Kartuku, and now he is a startup founder. So we would be also interested to understand how is life as a startup founder, Pak Dony. And we also have my dear friend Tommy Singhi, who started from telecom, but he has become an established face in the payment space in Indonesia for more than 20 years now, and he's looking at new areas of payments, and he's best placed to give us the local texture of how payments has changed, how it is having a bigger impact on the Indonesian society. So I'll now turn it over to Pak Vishal to talk about what he is doing at PT Bank Amar, give a few words about his experience in Indonesia. You've been in Indonesia for almost 8 years now. So I would say you're 75% Indonesian, if not 100%. So over to you, Vishal.
Yes, thank you, Subrendu. Sometimes I do joke that I am from Medan, but Tony and Patom can understand. Yeah. So what we do is Citibank Amar Indonesia is primarily we call ourselves more like a technology company which having a banking license. Yeah. So that kind of sums up that how we look at banking and how we are thinking about the banking. We launched this, as you mentioned, the pioneer in the alternate lending space, the product called Tunaiku back in 2014. So we're the first fintech player in the lending space back in 2014, which so far has done quite well, and we've become number one in the market. We are also now, which we'll be talking more about, is that in terms of the neobanks, in terms of a digital bank, how the banking can be changed and how a new sort of banking can be launched. We are about to launch within this month, and that banking product, as we move forward, we'll talk more about.
That's super exciting. We're all ears and look forward to that. So, Dony, maybe I'll turn to you and want you to share your journey from your telecom days to your payment days to now looking at the services that combine both telecom and payments, because now I see that you are doing great stuff that has payments and banking, but it also has telecom. So tell us more about what you're doing now.
Well, yeah, well, basically what I'm doing now is more like, something that I dream about, but it's just the beginning, basically. So my journey started when I was helping Excel. Yeah, I was in Excel as an employee, of course, at the time, and we tried to create mobile commerce and then also remittance. And we start to develop e-money at the time, which is Excel Tunai. Now it's already dead. And so the journey was very it's a good journey for me, basically, because it lays down a lot of things that now I really know about, especially on how e-money works and so on. Because previously my experience is more on telecom, or telecommunications. But with that experience, I began myself exploring payments. Yeah. So then I help also telecom cells in developing Tikastep and also the e-wallet, the wallet applications. Yeah, and also I was in Kartuku for some times. And after that, I tried to do my own venture. I tried this and that, do the PPOB. I don't know whether you are familiar with PPOB. Yeah? So it's basically a payment. We call it PPOB as a payment using online bank, but it's basically paying bills, buying vouchers, and so on. So we had that experience. I had that experience founding that kind of a business with my friends. And now I'm more into P2P lending, but Sharia, P2P lending, but Sharia based. So I'm getting old, and I think I want to do more into Sharia at this point of time. Yeah. Meanwhile, I'm also looking into POS, founding an POS with some of my friends. So those are the journeys that I'm doing right now. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dony. I'll move to Tommy. He has seen everything right from MaxStripe cards to the Mandiri e-toll card to the credit cards going to EMV. So Tommy, how does it feel on the progress that Indonesia has made on payments and smart cards in the last 25 years? So what do you think has been the biggest achievement in Indonesia so far?
So thank you, Sir Andrew. It is exciting, and we see tremendous journey that Indonesia made during last 30 years. We started, when people starting using credit card as a payment. Now, in the last 5 years ago, it's been becoming so big development been doing in Indonesia. So we see that people are not using only credit card. There's a lot of involvement from the FinTech coming in. People doesn't have to open a credit card. Even debit card can be used as well. Even now, recently, debit card can be used on e-commerce transaction. And then now GPN, I heard the local brand debit card is also can be used over online. So this is like, you know, everybody is now gear up into digital, in which government is also prioritizing on this digital economy kind of front. So I think it's an exciting moment for Indonesia, and we see we are expecting a lot of exciting moments onwards. Obviously after this COVID things, and even this COVID-19 pandemic, eventually pushing the digital even more bigger, in which we are expecting acceleration on this front. So I think that's my view generally on in brief.
Thanks, Tommy. And to your point, I think it was interesting that even the Kartu Prekarja was on the wallet. So the direct benefit transfer is also happening through the wallet infrastructure. So I think it's a big change. But let's take a step back and look at how the regulator, OJEC, has now looked at creating this complete banking infrastructure, right? So there is a conscious effort to have a couple or a few international level banks, to have a bit more room in the domestic market, and then to have some focus banks on a few priority segments, and then to have a larger number of the rural banks. And then, of course, you have the special category of the Sharia banking. So question again, Pak Vishal, is how is PT Bank Amar playing a role in this kind of pyramid that the OJEC has now put forward? And where are the growth areas that you're looking at? So if you can talk about how the Indonesian customers' wants, their needs, but also their desires are changing, and how you're trying to change the services that the bank is offering to be more adept to their requirements. I think that would be a great start to start discussing about FinTech.
Right. Now, so Subrendu, what we did was we started kind of our transformation journey back in 2014 and December 14. So the bank is already there from 1991. It was a Buku One commercial bank. 2014, we renamed the bank to Bank Amar, and we positioned ourselves as the innovative bank which is playing in the technology sector. And the target market is primarily kind of underserved. So the reason is there is a philosophy behind this. The philosophy which we follow is that technology in this part of the world, unlike Western part, where technology usually brings in the efficiency gains, in this part of the world, we believe that technology must impact lives, must improve lives. And that was the philosophy based on which we said that, okay, which segment we should target. So it was very easy. The underbanked and unbanked segment in Indonesia is very high. It's to the tune of 60-70% back in there. Right now it is reduced. Still it is 50% plus. For a 250 million plus population, that's a huge population which is underserved, right, and unbanked. And that was the segment which we targeted. So we defined our mission statement as to provide banking to those who need and not only to those who want. And that was the starting point. And that's where we have positioned. And the categories which, as per the OJK, comes in this is the micro SMEs, micro businesses. Indonesia GDP is a pretty uniquely structured in terms of the role of micro SME. So micro SME to the GDP, you'll be surprised to know that it contributes around 60% to the GDP and 97% to the employment. It's a whopping number, 97%, this segment, which is contributing to the employment of Indonesia. And this segment, you are like a food stall owners or a small business owners. They don't have a huge collateral for the loans. So they need a loan for a working capital, and they need it fast. They haven't planned it so well, but they need a small amount of loan, say $2,000 to $5,000 standard. So this is the segment which we positioned ourselves in. And that's how we saw that our journey actually now within OJK also has been taken quite well over the years. They recognize that yes, technology actually has a much more role to play in the banking sector. This current situation also helped in one way for the whole sector to realize that, because we are through and through without any physical interaction required. So customer can onboard for the loan without physical interaction and get the money without any physical interaction.
So some of the technology modules, the pieces that are needed, like the eKYC, getting the approvals for the process, doing the document check, is that all in place now? So do you have the approvals and the right set of flags from the operators, from the regulators to do all of that paperwork in an electronic format now?
So that way you would commend Indonesian regulators quite a well. Yeah. So what was there in 2014 and what is there today, there's a big difference. Today, the central database is digitized. Yeah? Tommy would know that telecom data and everything is digitized. Right now, things are so well connected and the regulators have advanced. Actually, as compared to many other countries, they came up with the eKYC paper. They came up with a separate regulation for FinTech. So the regulations have been keeping quite a good pace with it. So today, all the regulations more or less are in place to be able to provide an end-to-end digital onboarding and service to any customer.
Thank you, Pak Vishal. So I'll come back to you on that neobank, digital bank topic in a bit, but there's no escaping talking about wallets when we are talking about Indonesia. So I'll turn again to Pak Dony because he was part of the Tcash pioneering team and started the Telkomsel Tcash. We were trying to help on the stickers and the contactless and the acceptance. So how has the Linkaja story come up, Pak Dony? Because it's very unique and I think very Indonesian way in which Linkaja has evolved. And then you have also participation from the toll gateway, Jasa Marga. You also have participation from the oil and gas retail sector from Pertamina. So it becomes a very strong story, especially for the tier 2, tier 3 cities. So can you share with us some of the journeys on how Tcash became Linkaja and where is it going now?
Okay, well, I think the idea was that how we basically try to expand the use of digital money, right? And during my time, so what we want to do is basically to introduce the digital money. And it is not easy because we need to have a good marketing and so on, right? So the one that we did was providing the Tcash tab a sticker to show off. Okay, so I did this with Excel Tunai, but due to some monetary, they don't have as much money as Telkomsel, of course. Yeah, so but Telkomsel had the money, so they can do that. So this is how we evolve Tcash. So we started to introduce Tcash with the stickers. So at that time, we just tried to find the fastest possible ways for people to understand, easy to use, easy to see. So people getting more in touch with Tcash. And then we developed the wallet, the wallet applications. So basically, this is how the journey starts. So we want to introduce the physical thing that people can touch, can feel, can do easily, because we compare digital money with money, right? Which one is faster? Okay, so if they need to open this and that, it won't be faster. So if you just stick the stickers, so you can just tap it and then voila, you pay. So this is how we try to break the problems. Yeah, so we try to overcome the problems with this method, and after that it was history, because I think it is inevitable that Tcash needs to evolve into Linkaja, because yeah, basically they need more supports in terms of fundings, okay? Because Telkomsel, I think they cannot do this alone. Amongst the big players like GoPay, OVO, etc. So they need fundings. To get more fundings, they need new entity. So this is why they create the new entity to get more fundings. And luckily, the state-owned banks, they are, I think, requested as well by BI and also the Ministry of Finance to form this new entity, and then they agreed to use Tikash platform to create Link Aja. So that's where it starts. Yeah. So it's not really a natural process into Link Aja, but basically it was needed. Yeah. So we need a platform that can be owned by the state. Yeah, owned by the state. So it can be a balance to the a private digital money. So I think yeah, this is good for the democracy of money. Yeah, so there's a control over the private sectors. So yeah, so and I think this is also the tools for the government to do a lot of things. Yeah, especially when they want to go to rural and so on, because the coverage of Telkomsel is very huge. It's basically the widest coverage telco in Indonesia, so they can reach until the borders of Indonesia. So this is why a lot of things involving funding. So without this effort, I think it's not easy for other telcos to do something like this, because they cannot fund. Yeah, because I was in other telcos, right? It's not easy to fund your company to expand into rural area. Sometimes there is no business there, but you need to do that anyway. So I think this is a collaboration between the banks and the telco operators, the biggest telco operators, to try to outreach people that basically underbanked.
Got it. And to an outsider, but still with good connections and friends in Indonesia, I can see the patterns of how payments is now adding savings and investments and insurance and stock and IMAS. So gold has also become a big topic, right? So Amit has spent a lot of time with the fintech, with the banks, with the telcos in Indian market, and he has some interesting observations and insights into the Indian market. So let's discuss on what is happening in Indonesia, and will it be similar to what we have seen in India, where the wallet companies are now giving you the insurance product, the stock product, the savings product, so that rebundling after that initial unbundling of services has already started happening. So Amit, do you want to comment and share what you're seeing in the Indian market?
Sure. So, I think the background is that payments was always a sort of a low margin, high volume business globally. And there's a global trend that MDRs are going towards, very low or nearly zero in many places. And so one of the things that payment companies and wallet companies in India started doing was that in order to sort of monetize better, they started going into lending and, selling mutual funds and insurance, right? So this we see as a trend in many countries, right? It's not just India, but even in other places as well. So my question was that, do you see the same thing happening in Indonesia as well? That payment players are now expanding into other financial services as well?
Yeah. Okay. Maybe I try to answer. I think that's very natural. I think in business, a company which is established as a startup, they want to grow their business, so their valuation is growing fast, right? So even when I was in Tikash at the time, we already started to plan something like this. Yeah. So a lot of things that we want to do, yeah, when we grow. So the financial services is also something that we want to do next. Yeah, but I think there are a lot of things that not easy to do. Yeah. Because like MDR is very low. Yeah. So a lot of fundings needs to be done, and also there are some regulations, also very restrictive regulations for someone outside the banking industry, a non-bank, to enter the bank industry. So I think there are a lot of regulation needs to be normalized, or I can say it should be relaxed. Yeah, it should be more relaxed. But I think now even it's getting stricter. Yeah, because I'm doing a P2P lending, and I think next, even for P2P lending, it's getting stricter and stricter for non-bank to enter this market. So it's not easy, I think, because a lot of bad things happened as well during the journey. A lot of mismanagement, miscontrolled by either the organization itself and also by the regulator. So it's a test, it's a journey, I think. Yeah, and everybody wants to do that. Yeah, that's my opinion.
Thank you, Pak Dony. Tommy.
Yeah, so I'm about to say something. So maybe yes. I look at it differently, Subandhu and Amit. You see, Indonesia is a huge market. It's spread from west to east, right? And as I mentioned earlier, this digital economy is also echoing of what the official has been saying. There is bank and unbanked. Okay, there is a developed market and also undeveloped or developing. Let's put it that way. So there's a lot of work that we have to put the effort in, equalize the whole country as one. You see that, as we know, that more educated and more developed market is coming in Java and probably some Sumatra and Bali. The rest is still something that we need to work out. So like the network that, the telecommunication network that government has been now, I think is about to live. It's already been live. Is Palaparing, meaning all area across Indonesia is connected through fiber optic. So this is going to, as a commitment of the government to lift up the digital economy. So this where the work as a priority to work on. So those FinTech and so and other players like Pak Dony is doing is actually been expanded to the area across Indonesia. And this digital and the access, even you were saying in earlier that statement that where the penetration is big, the internet users is also 171.7 million as my note here. But again, the behavior, the way the people is using it is the using the device and accessing the device is something that still concentrating in this developed area. Let me just put one more thing is actually we are having Indonesia is a big informal sector. So it's probably the biggest worker is still coming from informal sector, which is the micro businesses. So in which these are the market which actually player shall be coming to, and and help them, like Vishal and also the sub-regional banks and so on, is to access this to help them give a funding, financial lending and so on. So these are the works that we are now, I think, to prioritize before we come to Amit's point earlier, to bundle with other facilities and so on. So I think it will not be take longer as this has been pushed, as I mentioned earlier, by pandemic condition. That I just heard also the CEO of BRI saying they've been deploying digital deploying the lending through digital channel big time. So this is something that actually is right things to do for everyone. That because with the geographical condition, with the archipelagos, it is no way we can access immediately unless through the digital. It's different, like India is one island, people can even detect the distance, but this is is seas, is water. So we have to really understand how to access immediately when we see somebody in West should be able to, even we are having 3 different time zones, but the equality of economy and accessibility should be there at the first place. I think that's my view on that.
Thank you, Pak Tommy. So before I move to Vishal, I'll stay with you, Pak Tommy, for another comment. So, this research from Google Temasek, they said Indonesia is going to be $100 billion digital economy only the digital part is going to be $100 billion US by 2025. So it's 5 years away. If you look at the regulator OJEC's blueprint for the system pembayaran in Indonesia, for the payment system blueprint, it is also looking at this national payment gateway. We have seen exactly 1 year ago on the Independence Day last year, the interoperable QR Indonesia standard came out. So how big a change is that bringing in having that equality between the regions? Because I agree to your point that it's not only Java, it's also Sumatra, it's also Sulawesi, it's also Papua. So how do you get it across to all of the provinces?
Right. So it's very, very good question. But first of all, let me correct you in one thing. So this payment roadmap, the blueprint, is coming from Bank Indonesia, so central bank. So all payment system are regulated under Bank Indonesia. But OJK is actually as financial authority is actually supervising and controlling all any financial institution, including banks and FinTech. So back to the question. This is a very critical moment. I think we've been talking this about QR payment very deeply and thoroughly. How we can make the most cheap or efficient way or accessible in terms also accessibility to everyone in Indonesia by doing this QR payment. So this QR payment in the first setup is actually how we even the road seller with the car can also accept payment, electronic payment. So this is again come back to my point earlier where this informal sector is very important to be assessed by this digital economy, by digital ways in doing business, by the payment at least at a point before this coming into the lending and so on. So in that front, it is important to back to your point, the interoperability. So anyone, the payment provider, you can name it GoPay, OVO, Tokopedia Money, whatsoever, or Dana, and even credit card, debit card can be used through that QR, Indonesian standard QR, and this using AMV standard eventually, in which it's just a matter of whether the authority would be able to open for everyone. Now, I think in the first place, they are only opening for domestic players. But if we think further, something in Bali, something in Pelabuhan Bajo, or further in Raja Ampat, where tourism is coming in after the pandemic, it is important to enable digital payment for everybody, inbound or domestic, be able to use the electronic payment. So the sources can be from their credit card or debit card, or even domestic. Obviously, I understand completely that priority for domestic is important, where there's the engine where we can start. People are start using the digital payment, and also making the education. But if we're looking at the real the real thing, when we get the devisa coming in and so on, I think it is important also to open for everybody, all players, where everybody can buy, in warung, let's say, if they want to buy some teh bottle and so on. So that's something so that's my view. Obviously, it's a journey, as I mentioned, but again, at the end of the day, it should be equally open for domestic, international, inbound, outbound, and so on.
Thank you, Pak Tommy. So back to Pak Vishal on banking. So there were a couple of questions from the audience as well. And one of them is about talent. So when you go and hire, because you are a technology company that has the banking license, do you only go to the Bandung School of Technology and the engineering colleges there, or do you also go to the other universities and schools? So how easy, how difficult is it for you to build out your teams, Pak Vishal? And also then, Dony, Tommy, would love to have your views on where do you find the passionate team members who have some skills, or do you have to train them? Does it take a long time? How are you managing that, Pak Vishal?
So, Surundi, as you have been in business for so long, that's the most difficult piece of the puzzle, that getting the right talent on board. And that takes time. So the strategy-wise, what we follow is that there are two possible strategies. One is to take a very experienced people on board, or other is to take less experienced and mold them into your culture. So we follow the strategy number 2, where we would rather focus on more generalists instead of specialists. Reason being is that technology is evolving. It's a dynamic field. And the way things are done is not set in the stone. Like if one market is doing a certain thing, like we are talking about QR code. Now, QR code is applicable in China and Indonesia, but it is not there in US. Right? But it is over here. The payment is more convenient through QR code. So if you have the generalists who are keeping a tap on the market and changing as per the customer behavior, that is the kind of quality which we look for in the people. And that's what we train our people for, to be very much connected with the customer, to keep a pulse on the customer changing behaviors and their way of doing things. Training-wise, it's most of the culture, how you do things, how much freedom you give them, how much you are relaxed about the failures. If there are any faults, you got to be relaxed, unlike a regular bank. So those are the kind of things which is a regular startup kind of mentality needs to be there.
Thank you, Pak Vishal. So, Dony, where do you find your team members from? Are they all your ex-colleagues and friends, or do you also find new colleagues?
Well, mostly people that I knew before, and there are some millennials, new people that really eager to do things their own way. And, the basic things, I think Pak Vishal is really correct. Yeah. For me, I rather to have a generalist. And why? Because I think the basic problems with creating products in Indonesia is the very, poor research. There are very poor research in Indonesia on how to build a good products. When I was in Excel and when I was in Telkomsel, I did some research. I did FGD and so on, to get more customers' feedbacks. And this is where we base our product, so how we develop our product is based on that research. But there are things that we haven't done yet. And actually, I'm eager to do that as well, because I think we are lacked of this, which is the domestic remittance. And I think a lot of problems nowadays on the tier 1 is okay. Yeah, tier 1 is okay. People are using QR code, people are using the cards. But the problems when we go to tier 2, tier 3, which Pak Vishal also is doing right now, it's getting rare and rare people doing this. So the talents needs to understand these people. They need to go there and really do live observation, do a proper UX research, so people will express their true feelings of, why I want to use this and why I don't want to use that. Yeah, because that's very important. I give you a clue. When I did the FGD of domestic remittance, for example, people, okay, I give you a question, Shu. If, let's say, if I'm in Jakarta and I want to send something to my mother in, let's say, in Labuan Bajo. So who will determine which channel I will choose to send the money?
My mother.
Yes. And if I'm a mother and I want to send the money, I'm in Labuan Bajo, and I want to send my money to my son in Jakarta who is studying at University of Indonesia, for example. Who will define which channel that will be used?
Maybe the son this time.
No, still the mother.
No. Okay.
Yeah, so that's the clue. And this is something that only Western Union, I think, knows how to do this. Frankly speaking, they really know how to bring the old people, hey, please do this and say your son, tell to your son, send to this channel. It's easy, right? Blah, blah, blah. So, you have to go into that deep to get the service going really naturally. Because, for example, the government tries to distribute this and that using this digital channel, but that's only one time, right? It's not natural. So you need to bring this into a natural habits. And to know, to get into that, you have to know the people. So that's what I think. And yeah, this is why I welcome any generalist, everyone that really have the passion to know the market better. Yeah.
Got it. Thank you, Pak Dony.
Yeah.
Okay. So back on the banking and the digital banking and the neo-banking, Pak Vishal. So also another question from the audience was, how comfortable are your customers going through a digital channel than through a bank branch, through over-the-counter service, filling out a form? So do they like the digital challenge? Do you have to convince them to use digital? And also, how do you manage the fraud? I know that Tommy has also become a generalist with specialization in fraud and analytics now, but as the bank, how do you figure out how to keep the fraud in check? So I think those two related questions.
So I'll just give you a brief background first here, right? That in terms of the digital banking, how we approach the digital banking, and then come to how the digital adoption and the fraud. So when we meet with our customers whom we lend, like in tier 2 and tier 3, like Pak Dony was mentioning, now these customers, we ask them that they are unbanked, or even they have opened the bank account, but they don't use the bank account. Why? What's the reason? We went to their houses and all, we asked them, why you don't use it? We opened the bank account. Now you have actually drawn the cash. They open the bank account. If you ask them, sometimes like there is a government effort, they open the bank account, but next day they bring the cash home. And the bank account is just there, right? Pak Dony has seen this. This is happening throughout. So we try to understand first that what's the reason. And that's exactly what right now Pak Dony was mentioning, is that tier 1 doesn't know how tier 3 operates, how they operate their life. In this case, suppose amongst over here, we all, when we have to plan a cash flow, what do? We have certain event coming up next year. What do? All of us possibly will open a spreadsheet, right? And would plan it. So we all have access to a spreadsheet and we will plan it. If it is for our child's education or for any kind of wedding in the house, those kind of activities. Now, because our cash flows are a bit more predictable also, and we have access to a spreadsheet. But if you talk to these people, our target market, how do they manage their finances? They are also managing their finances. Their cash flow is not predictable, someday up, someday down, someday it is not there, but they have the similar requirements. How do they manage their cash flow? And they don't have access to a spreadsheet. If you think about it, how do they do it? we won't be able to immediately figure it out. So when we were there, we saw it's something like, let's say, jar method or envelope method. Right? So they have placed 2-3 jars at the place with a marking. It's for education. This is for emergency. This is for food. They come home and put something in some. They have certain system of putting in certain of the jars. And that's how they manage. It's pretty simple. It works for them. They go to the bank account, open a bank account. All the jars are merged. Right now they have one bank account. That's it. Now think from that person's point of view, how does it help? Bank doesn't help them, right? An bank account is actually not helping them. And that's where the pain point was. So when we build this digital banking, which we are about to launch, is primarily taking into account where the person can keep multiple buckets. Doesn't have to have separate accounts. A multiple bucket and keep it within the buckets, separate amount of money, just they are managing the way they are managing today. So that's the key idea behind this. And we are calling it also that when you do that, it helps you to form a financial habit, because you can meet your goals just by having the right financial habits instead of just going for the lending or borrowing from the market. So we will be with the name of the app would be Sanimku, which is like My Smile. Just like Tunaiku will be focusing on lending, and Sanimku will be focusing on creating financial habits and digital banking.
So is this the official announcement on media today, Pak Vishal?
So we just had the announcement because we are the first bank to launch it on the cloud. So Google has just announced it 2 weeks back. If you do Google, so they announced it that we are the first bank to launch it on the Google cloud using the Google AI, which is where the AI part comes in. That now the banking provides mostly as an account statement. When we go to our bank statement, what do we see? An account statement. When you log in, yes, you transfer, you borrow, but it is a statement at the end of the day. Not providing you any insights or intelligence to change anything. And that is where we saw that for this tier 2 and tier 3, we need to provide intelligence. The banking has to provide that intelligence. It already has all the data. It's the best data available. The person's spending where the rubber meets the road. It's not about only intent. It is the actual spending, actual habits. So suppose if somebody has a goal to go to Umroh and they want to save some money, if we can help them on a daily basis by managing their expenditure in terms that helping them to say that you are over budget, you are already over budget, and if this rate goes on, you won't be able to meet your goal. Maybe tomorrow you eat at home instead of going out, right? Those kind of small nudges. So just give the nudge, and that technology enables by the notifications and the intelligence built in. So it is a personalized intelligence based on own spending and earning habits. So that's where the intelligence part comes in. Now answering to your question in terms of the digital adoption, Indonesia is quite ahead in terms of Indonesian consumers are very much ahead in terms of adopting the digital, any new digital apps or any new digital platform. In fact, in some of the McKinsey report, they ranks them number 2nd in this part of the world. You can get an example like 5 years back, mobile phone penetration in the country was around, smartphone was around 73 million, yeah? And internet out of that was around 54 from 73 million smartphone. Today, that number is around 175 million is the smartphone users, out of which 171 million are internet users on the phone, which just shows you that one is the growth rate, 2.5 times the growth rate, and second, that people are on the internet doing the digital adoption on the mobile phone. So as a bank also, we have seen the same thing, that when we provide them a good UX, where they can get on board digitally, they don't have a requirement of coming to the physical. If the UX is good, they come on board digitally and they favor it much more because it saves a lot of time given the traffic situation and just given the busyness of the people today. And also millennials and Generation Z, they are very, very, very smart to get on board digitally. Even if sometimes the UX is not that great, they would try out the digital adoption. Then the part of the question was of your fraud. That is something which as the country goes more and more digital, the fraud detection becomes easier for any service provider. each and every service provider faces the fraud issues. But like you have now in Indonesia, e-KTP, which is the electronic ID card. That is already electronic, and you can connect to that and get that. Then as a bank, you can connect to the central credit registry, which is again host-to-host connections are possible, and then you get that. Also, like Pak Tommy was earlier mentioning, Telkomsel and Pak Dony in terms of this other wallet providers also, they are also coming in some form where they allow you to access certain points of data. So with all these data point connections, it gets easier to do the fraud detection. Fraud detection, I would say it is always a kind of a catch-up race. You have to be always a step ahead. You never can say that you are 100% fraud-proof, but digitally it becomes more easy if the data in the country is more connected, which in Indonesia, fortunately, is quite good.
Got it. Thank you. A common question to all three of you, Pak Tommy, Pak Dony, Pak Vishal, on the way that the gold prices have gone up because of the macro situation, that has given rise to a renewed interest. But I believe the interest in gold had started even before that in Indonesia, because you saw interesting fintech companies that are trying to do gold-based investments, gold-based saving, gold-based trading. So how important is gold as an asset class for Indonesians?
Maybe from bank perspective, it's better than we can discuss further on from the other side. Vishal?
No, I would have actually what we have is that since we don't take collateral, I would have least amount of knowledge in this sector. It's more of a general understanding by talking to the people and all. This gold is just like as you have seen in India, it's treated as a valuable asset. Pawn shops and all, there are many now. Also, there are online lenders which would take gold as a deposit and as a collateral and provide the loans and all. So I do see the renewed interest with this kind of pricing, which always makes you wonder when everybody starts talking about any asset class, what is going to happen with that asset class? One needs to be more concerned of.
Yeah. So I think from me, gold or jewelry is actually traditionally been used as a saving from the traditional people in the villages. So instead of they keeping money as a liquid, they buy some gold or jewelry just to keep it as the saving. So this has been happening traditionally a long time back, and now if in today's context, I think gold is also something still been used as a saving, as also the asset that they keep. They consider it as a stable kind of value, even it's fluctuating recently because of the condition. But in general, gold is still something to consider as a saving from Indonesian people perspective.
Got it. Thank you, Pak Tommy. I'm aware we are close to our scheduled closing time in a few minutes. So probably the two last questions are in terms of your business priorities. What is top of your mind for the next year, 2021? 2020 is nearly gone. And because of the ongoing climate, I think it has become interesting. And everybody is now planning ahead for 2021. So probably if you can just outline what are the must-wins or the must-dos for you for your line of work in 2021, that will be a fantastic guidance for us. So Pak Tommy, why don't you start first?
Okay. Today we are having a very unique condition with COVID-19. In which the entire year of 2020 has been somehow, it's not been held, but people are forced to change in the sense of how we are having social activities, how we are doing business, how do we doing meetings as of today, how we can do some more anything, because it is not only about economy, it's more to health. It's close to us, it's attached to us eventually. So this is how we are everybody and globally are thinking the same. And there's some theory saying the world becoming deglobalization, meaning everybody, now every country is actually looking for their own country instead of, how we can survive, because it's already been in the surviving kind of condition, how we can utilize, how we can capitalize local assets. And luckily, Indonesia, as mentioned earlier by the panelists, that we are a huge market with a lot of potential, right? And one thing that I want to highlight is actually Indonesia is actually coming into the go time, where the millennials is big. The productivity, the productive age is actually big. It's 179.1 million in 2021, and the millennials aged between 21 to 36 is around 63.5 million. And this is actually the engine of economy, where the adoption, the creativity of the millennials, where they are taken from their own ideas or taken from others' idea from global, is been taken out and stimulate the market itself. So these are the exciting moment, and people in Indonesia should realize this. As we have all the markets, we have all the resources, not only for the soil resources, but also the tourism, as we are also the largest Muslim countries and so on. This thing is becoming a momentum of us in Indonesia, that this year and next year, as hopefully we will find the vaccine and COVID-19 will go away, is where we can take the acceleration of the economic growth. And back to Vishal ideas and also initiative, which is very smart and brilliant, is how to educate the way they are doing on their own business today, but in digital front. This is how actually, and it is different than when we do it in first tier cities in the modern and also in the developing in the area where people are still doing their own cash, let's say. So it is very and how Pak Dony is actually been doing, how we can expand the lending seamlessly through digital, and how to reach the area with experience of Pak Dony earlier with PPOB, actually with the warung, with the even actually the payment point institution, the small one, is eventually not necessarily still in one place. It can be moved. It can be people who move around, taking payment, giving, the money and so on. So this thing, I think everybody at this point of time having a field to play. And this is the time for us to really, as also government and the president also saying, it is time for us to really take lead and make sure that we are capitalizing our own country assets, and also the people, the market, and so on. I think that's generally what I see in 2020. The things will be lift up, and after and this is the 2020 is actually the developing time of period. I think that's my view.
Thank you, Pak Tommy. So, Pak Vishal, you're putting a smile on every bank customer's face, but in 2021, what else to make them smile even wider? So what are the new things that you're going to add after this?
Yeah, so there is one more product which we are working on. So if you see the first was Tunaiku, now Sanimku, which will be the first mobile-only bank on cloud. There is again a third product which will be launching in 2021. So maybe if you are having this channel, I'll announce it on this channel. But that product is going to be in the Q1 of 2021. We have already started working on that, and it will be in Q1 of 2021.
Okay, so Amit, we have to take a note of all that. We have to run a second episode for this. Okay, okay. No, fingers crossed for your success.
Thank you. Yeah, and
Thank
that will combine a lot of. We were planning to combine quite a lot of new age technology in that. As we see it, is that while in last 4 or 5 years we have talked a lot about blockchain, IoT, and AI, but it has reached to the level where now applications are possible, and there is a lot which can be done in that space. So that is going to combine some of these aspects.
Got it. And I'm sure as the CEO, as the president director, it's not just the coolness of the technology that's driving you to launch it. So I'm sure you're looking also on the business front of the benefits from these tools. So absolutely fantastic. So thank you, Pak, Vishal. And then back to Dony. So Dony, you mentioned about soft POS and ePOS. So is that going to be some of the new things that you are going to start in 2021?
Well, as you see that this pandemic is a hit for everyone. A lot of people get laid off, lost their jobs, and they need to survive. And people now it's starting to sell everything what they have, what they can do. Making foods. Ready to eat food, making everything, and they sell it into some e-commerce platform that people can buy easily, or just as easy as Instagram. And this is happening now. It's happening right now, and I think this is a very good moment that people are getting into entrepreneurship. And this is why I'm thinking of assisting people on doing this, by providing, POS as part of the integral part of the ecosystem, so they can, manage their business, their online business, and maybe their offline business. Yeah, so it will be O2O, and basically. When they start to be a small entrepreneur, they need a tool, and also they need basically funding to make their business bigger. So this is why that's what we are heading at the moment in 2021. We hope that our PTP lending Sharia license will be granted soon. We already processed that since long time ago. Yeah, but that's still processed. So this is what we hope that we could have it, so we can support a lot of people in terms of funding, and also provide the POS, so people can be helped in arranging all the transactions easily, and then they can manage their business easily, because I think there will be a lot of new entrepreneurs after this pandemic easily.
Got it. Fantastic. So Pak Vishal, Pak Dony, Pak Tommy, absolutely thrilled. I think these are very exciting times, and we'll all come out stronger. And I wish you again a very happy 75th Independence Day for Indonesia. And thank you again for your time, for sharing your ideas and your future plans with us. And I pass it back to Amit to conclude the session.
Well, thanks everyone for your time and joining in. And thanks everyone else who joined us here on Zoom and Twitter and LinkedIn. This will be available offline actually on all these channels, as I was speaking earlier. And let's hope to continue this discussion in some other format. But really great to kind of understand about the Indonesian market today, as I was listening to all the speakers here. So thanks everyone. We'll just end the session here.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Amit.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Amit.
Can you share the phone number of Dony and Tommy so I can give them a call? Because here we don't
Absolutely.
have
Sure.
right? Yeah.
Sure,
Yes,
sure.
Pak Vishal. The same. Also need then.
Yeah.
Thank you, Pak Vishal. Thank you,
Thank you,
Subrandru.
Pak Bisa, Pak Tommy,
Thanks.
Pak Sup, Amit.
Thank you.